things sitting around here. Before we go park it, we got to take pictures for Facebook also.
Well, you know what time it is.
Hey everybody, welcome to Bad Wrench Automotive. Okay, so here we are on our Saturday live stream, and are working on an old school square body. That's right. So let's go ahead and talk about what is a square body first. Square body refers to the general shape of the truck. This is right around the mid to late 70s all the way through up until 88, where the body style switched. In 88, they went to a little bit more rounded body style, which they call the OBS style. That's where we start running into fuel injection. This one here is carbureted. And what's bringing us in for the repair today is obviously we've got a radiator leak. We're going to be showing you guys exactly what's going on with it. But let's go ahead and start off with today's announcements. Guys, thank you for all the support. Our subscribes have been up. Our views have been up, and I know that you guys are the ones really helping to bring that up and help us out with that. We really do appreciate it. We've got a lot of things cooking for this summer. You guys are seeing some behind the scenes stuff. So right now you guys are seeing this project, but we're done with Project Silverado, which you guys are starting to see clips on during the week. And as we get through some of those, we're going to start getting into some of our summer content. And that's where we're really hoping to shine this year and really start bringing you guys more stuff, maybe some car shows, some parades, some events that we are planning to try to do. We have some general talks going on about where that's going to be and what we're going to do with that. We'll try to let you guys know when we get to that point. But with the announcements, guys, thank you for all your support. Make sure you guys check out our merch store. It will be linked down below. You can get shirts, you can get hats, you can get drink cups. You guys will see me. I'm going to be using this one from now on. And I really do like this one because it'll hold quite a bit. So I can always keep enough on hand so I can keep my projects going. All right, let's go ahead and transition into our topic. Today's project is replacing the radiator on here. I have two really bad leaks. I have one coming from the upper radiator hose and one coming off of one of the heater hoses. The right way to do this repair is to not only replace the radiator, but also to check the hoses. We don't want to take this all apart for a radiator and put the old hoses back in it and have an old hose leak. So how we fix that is real simple. We are putting new radiator hoses in this truck. We're not going to waste time running the old hoses. You might save a little bit of money, but if these hoses blow, you're going to lose all the coolant and you wasted money. So money well spent. If you're already draining the whole system to do a radiator, just replace these. Next, we're also going to go ahead and replace the hose clamps. We don't want to run old hose clamps for a reason. These hose clamps are what hold those rubber hoses tight to all of the metal fixtures. If we leave these loose, we're going to have a leak. If we run old ones, it's going to leak. It's better to replace these if you're replacing the hoses. Something I do every time. Also, we're going to be replacing all of the coolant in this system. And how I choose to do this is I choose to go about it the easy way. So, the easy way is to buy your pre-mixed coolant. Do not buy the concentrate, because the concentrate you have to dilute with distilled water, guys. If you don't dilute with distilled water, you're putting minerals inside the engine, which is hard on the metal components. This also could cause other damage to things like head gaskets or other hoses. So do not run tap water. Do not run spring water. Make sure it's distilled water if you're going to mix your own coolant. This is another reason why I only buy the premixed. Also, when we pull this radiator might be for this truck, but we don't have the proper mounting points for this radiator, meaning that it's designed to have a smaller radiator core. And what happened was they removed the bushings from this radiator, something you should never do. But they removed the bushings on the metal brackets. So we are going to have to replace. So we are going to have to replace these. These are what are going to hold our radiator down tight with our new one. And when I remove these brackets, I'll show you guys exactly what I'm talking about. Hopefully I don't have to rebend these brackets. But if we do, we will deal with that hurdle when we get there. So, as you guys might see, I'll have the producer kind of pan underneath the truck for a second, and you guys might see a little bit of a mess underneath there. That mess is going to happen. Anytime you guys do a radiator, expect that it's not going to be a clean process. You are going to make a mess. The drain plugs are going to run on other things that it's going to splash around and not go right into the pan. We caught a good portion of it. I have quite a bit in there, so that's good. The bad is I did make a mess on the floor, so make sure you guys get a bag of floor dry if you guys are going to attempt this repair. Floor dry will really help you. So before I start turning wrenches, I'll flip it back to the producer. If you have any chats or anything.
No chats yet.
Okay. Feel free to chat your guys' questions in if it pertains to the project. If you have other questions about other repairs on other vehicles, we do answer those in a Q&A session at the end of this video. So you guys can catch those at the end here. We will do a Q&A session, or we will do the news, depending on how many people are in and what they want to see. So we kind of leave that a little open-ended. Next, we're going to go ahead and flip into the project. We're going to start removing some of these brackets. So,
Yeah, I'm the only one watching right now.
so these are half-inch bolts that are holding the radiator in. So half-inch bolts. Yeah, producer is moving in for you guys so you guys can see what we're doing here.
Trying.
These are the brackets, guys. This is what I'm saying. They removed the cushions that hold this radiator down tight. We
They look
can't
different than the ones you showed us.
Yeah, what I showed you guys was the rubber cushion.
Oh, okay.
I'll show you guys now how to put the new rubber cushions in. We might wind up flipping these around once we get the new radiator in. We might have to flip them around, but okay, yeah, they only go.
Yay!
We got.
Hi, Alyssa Peters, 1496. She says, nice new merch.
Thank you, thank you. Nice to have you in today.
Welcome. You're our first chatter today.
First chatter today. If you guys got any questions, feel free to chat them in. What we do here. So this bracket is actually bent. What we're going to do is attempt to bend this bracket back so we can put this rubber cushion in. This cushion is what's going to hold the new radiator down into place. And if it's something that I can't get the metal to bend back straight, what we can do is just cut that little section out with a die grinder. So good to have you guys here on this Saturday as we do our live streams. Oh, yeah, that's some heavy duty metal there. So remember, everything on old trucks, they were built with heavier iron than they are for trucks today. A truck today, you could easily bend this bracket probably with your bare hand. On these, you're not going to be able to do that. So I can either cut the rubber piece here on the end that's thicker so that it fits down in here, or I can cut the bracket. I am choosing to cut the rubber piece. It's easier.
Different tool.
Yep. So if you guys are going to do this and you have to, just know that the rubber pieces you can trim. Just be careful not to slice your fingers and go slow.
Maybe we should wear gloves.
Yeah, I got a pair of gloves I should. Producer reminds me that safety is important, guys.
Kind of black on black, but I'm trying.
Yeah, kind of figured that. So, what we wanted to do was trim off that little piece of rubber. And what that does is allows us to put this in the bracket so that the bracket actually sits flush. If this was protruded up, it would hold the radiator down in a hard position. We don't want it to be sticking up and prying against the radiator. This bracket is ready to go. We just need to do the other one, and then we can start taking the fan shroud out. Fan shroud should be a lot easier. The radiator already kind of fell down to the side when I moved it.
We're higher off the ground today.
Yep, all of our work is up higher today, guys. We're not doing too much down low. So it's good to have everybody in here. If you guys got any questions, chat them in. If it pertains to the project, we do Q&A at the end and news, automotive news. So kind of leave it up to you guys to decide if you want automotive news or if you guys want your questions answered. Sometimes we do a mix of both, depending on how long the project takes, stuff like that.
So the radiator today, is it specific for a square body truck or most trucks, or how does this work?
Yes, radiators will be vehicle specific. So depending on what radiator you have, determines what you're putting in. So a radiator can be shaped in many different ways. They may not all be shaped the same. But a radiator is in itself, the components of a radiator are the same. So you will have hold downs to hold the radiator in. You will have a fan shroud or electric fans bolted to the radiator. But the radiator itself has been the same since we've started cooling engines and gone away from air cooled or we're going way back now. We're going back to almost the beginning of what we consider the automotive industry. Back before even Model A's, most Model A's still had some form of radiator and some kind of cooling. It wasn't until they started actually working on that process that they realized that cars are traveling farther, they need to cool them, so they started putting radiators in them. But a radiator has not changed in a very long time. They've all pretty much been the same.
Now what tool are we getting?
Oh, no, I was just putting that one back.
So
Setting this off to the side here.
good tip. Put away your tools when you're done.
Yeah. Try to stay on top of your tools. Don't let them kind of float all over the place. I've already removed the upper radiator hose. You guys are going to see me install the upper. So I'm not concerned with how it came out because it's when you're taking it out, you're just putting it back in reverse. I did want to show you guys these mounts because if you had any issues with that, you will need to know how to fix that, especially if it's a bigger radiator than what was originally designed for the vehicle. And this one probably came out of a 1-ton truck That's why it has a bigger core on it and why there's bigger tanks on it. It's designed for a bigger engine. And this truck also had a diesel in it. So when this truck was ordered, we ran the VIN and found out what was in this truck. This truck had a 700 R4 transmission, which is a 4-speed automatic. This truck also had the diesel engine in it. Now, that diesel engine would have been probably the 6.2 non-turbo diesel engine. I've owned a few of them. I prefer the 6.5. It's a better engine with more power and torque, and it's turboed, but that's not what was in this truck and what was ordered when it came out. The 6.5 had not come about for a while yet. So this would have had the 6.2 diesel non-turbo. Because they swapped the motor, they put a gas engine in it. This one looks like it's a 350 out of a much newer truck. And they put a turbo 400 transmission in it. So that means they swapped it to a 3-speed automatic with a heavier duty transmission. This allows the truck to tow, haul, and pull more, but you are going to run a lot more RPMs because this truck was designed to have a 4-speed. So this is what happens when we start modifying things and we don't understand everything that's going on. You have to pay attention to what the vehicle came with because it affects everything down the line. We may have a sneak peek at the end of this video, guys. If we get enough chats and enough likes, we've got a sneak peek for you guys that you guys are going to want to see what we've got on the other side of our producer. Just teasing you guys with that one.
You're afraid I'm gonna hurt it.
No, no, it's fine. No, you're. All right. So before I can go lifting this radiator out, I've got a few more things to disconnect. I have a overflow hose that has to come off of the top of the radiator. I also have 2 transmission lines and a heater hose that has to come off. I've already loosened up the clamp, so I'm just going to twist this heater hose, slide this off the radiator. So here's the heater hose. Here's the other heater hose off the engine. I will be replacing these heater hoses. Again, this is rubber hoses. We don't know how long they've been on there. There's a chance that these could cause leaking issues later on. So we're not going to leave these on here. We will replace those hoses. I also have 2 transmission lines that will need to come off before I can lift the radiator up out of here. But before I get super carried away with this process, I do need to take this fan shroud loose. This fan shroud cannot stay in here.
It's the cover on the radiator.
It's the shield that goes around the fan.
Yeah.
So how radiators work? Let's go ahead and break this down right now. How radiators work is it circulates coolant throughout your engine. What happens is that hot coolant comes out of your engine through your top radiator hose. It then gets filtered down through the radiator as air is being pulled through the front of the vehicle. It has to be pulled, not pushed, because if you're driving at 65 miles an hour, there's enough wind resistance here that it won't push air forward. It can only pull the air back. And that's what the fan is doing. The fan is pulling that air back, causing it to cool down the radiator. As it cools down, it's going to get to the bottom of the radiator where it's colder, and it's going to re-pull that coolant back up into the engine to grab more heat and come back up the upper radiator hose. This is fundamentally how the cooling system works on all vehicles. All comes in from the top, slowly filters down, the air is pulled through the radiator to cool down the coolant, and then it's pulled back into the engine to grab more heat away from the engine. If you have a thermostat that is stuck, what happens is the heat builds up within the engine and can't exit to the radiator. Sometimes when you're down this far, you're better off putting a thermostat in it. We're not going to do that on this truck. So if you do get to this point where you're doing all of this work, 2 more bolts and you can pull that thermostat out and replace that thermostat. And I strongly suggest doing that because anytime you drain the coolant this far down and you're going to refill it, if you ever have to drain it down again for minor things that you could have fixed when it was already drained, really going to be frustrated because you're wasting coolant. Big pro tip. Make sure you guys watch what you're doing with doing the thermostats. If you have the opportunity, replace that thermostat if you're doing the radiator because you're draining most of the coolant in the system already.
Are you doing that today too?
We're not going to put a thermostat in this one. The customer opted to not do it because they felt like the thermostat was working, so they wanted to leave it be. Again, normally under all circumstances, I would have swapped that out and just put a new one in it right away. On a deal like this, you could even go with a lower thermostat. I can explain that in just a second. So a lower thermostat temp means that it won't build as much heat in the engine. Now, you can have an adverse effect. Newer cars are programmed. So if your car is programmed to be at 210 degrees, you can't put a 180-degree thermostat in it. It will throw a check engine light. On an old school vehicle like this, it will not throw the check engine light. So we could go to a 160 thermostat and keep the engine cooler. On most street applications, I will recommend a 180 if we don't have to deal with computer issues or if we are retuning the vehicle. If we are retuning for any reason, we're doing a performance engine, anything like that, I try to bring the engine temps down. I don't like leaving them up at 200. It's really hot and it doesn't give you much room if the vehicle does start to overheat. In a sports car application, you can overheat an engine very rapidly and not have enough time to shut it down. So I try to go with a 180 thermostat, giving me a little bit more wiggle room. Plus, it also helps for performance. It doesn't get as hot. It doesn't need to be that hot. We can pull some of that heat out of the engine bay and prolong the life of our gaskets. So all big things dealing with this cooling system. That's why I wanted to do the live today on this, guys, so I could break this down for you. There is so much little bits of pieces of information that are so important that it just pays to do a full live for you guys. So let's go ahead and get this last bolt out of this fan shroud and I'll show you guys where the mounting points are. This one is weird because this fan shroud is partially broke. So you have 2 mounting bolts up here on the top of your bracket. So there's 2 bolts right there in the top of the bracket, one on each side. So one on this side, one on the other side. These would be your top bolts for the shroud. Now you have bottom bolts in roughly the same location, 4 of them. You need to take those 4 bolts off of the radiator in order to lift this radiator out. We're also going to want to get some line wrenches to get those transmission lines out. I'll show you guys that once we get that bottom bolt out of there.
We're going inside.
I'm actually going to go underneath, which might be harder to show. But what we're aiming for is to pull this bolt. And I'll let you guys know here in just a second. These are 3/8 bolts. So we had 1/2 inch holding the core support in for the radiator. We had 3/8 bolts holding the fan shroud in. Now, you might ask, most people use metric wrenches. Why are we using standard? The time that this truck was built, everything ran standard American bolts. They didn't run the metric bolts. Metrics use the, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 being the most common, and you will usually lose a 10 millimeter at some point in your life. It is bound to happen because 10 millimeters are the most common on bolts anything around the engine or even on top. So 10 millimeters are always get lost, and that's kind of the joke, is always keep enough 10 millimeter bolts around to be able to finish the project. Any questions?
Not right now. No questions in the chat right now. Thank you all for being here today. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for the likes. Really help us out.
So this was the last bolt left for the fan shroud. It is a screw style tapered bolt, really easy to get out. There would be two of them, but one of them's already missing. Again, when it's old trucks, you run into stuff like that. If you have the bolts to replace things when you're doing this project, put the bolts in. Take the time to fix it and take those out. So now we're going to get this top radiator hose for the coolant reservoir tank off, and we're going to get those transmission lines out. So I'm going to grab my line wrenches, and I'm going to grab what I need to remove that upper radiator hose. Upper hose here might just be a 7 millimeter. It's a very small, it's actually smaller than that. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I think it's going to be like a 5.5
5.5 milliliters or
millimeter. Yep, millimeter. Find out here. See if the 5. Otherwise, I got to grab a 6. Yeah, it's a 6.
Is that not a standard one?
Nope, it's not. A lot of the hose clamps have become standardized or standard as far as millimeters. They all use the metric. This one's a very old.
Wow.
That one is a very old one. So my 7 didn't work and my 6 doesn't work, meaning that it's a standard bolt.
When you said this is 1983.
Yep, it's an 83.
So yeah, that's older. Almost classic by now.
Qualifies for collector plates. At least in the state that I live in, collector plate is anything that's 20 years old or more. We do currently have a vehicle on the channel that does have collector plates. So it is a quarter drive socket. This is for the coolant reservoir tank. This is the overflow tank, guys. So loosen up that clamp. And I usually keep all my stuff together until I'm done with the project. I'm switching back to the 8 millimeter though, because I do have more clamps to remove.
So what are we removing now?
This is the coolant overflow tank,
Okay.
or the reservoir tank, as sometimes called. And if you are going through this process and you want to make things a little bit more streamlined, you could flush out that tank, making sure it's clean. If you guys ever do anything that you have a bad head gasket or it gets coolant mixing where it shouldn't, make sure you clean out that reservoir tank. Don't just leave that dirty, because that could contaminate the system. So make sure that you pull that out. clean it.
Is there any safetiness we should have with this? Any gloves? Any wait until it's cool?
Oh, yes. Good tip from the producer. If you guys are thinking about doing a radiator project or dealing with anything with the coolant system, do not open the radiator cap if there's any heat in the engine. Make sure it's cold to the touch. Don't crack that cap open. Don't work on this system when it's warm. It can make sure that it is cooled off, that you can touch everything on it without getting burned. If it's hot, don't work on the system. Have a little bit of patience. What I'm doing now is I'm trying to find the right line wrench to fit on there. And I am using a 1/2 inch line wrench. Let's go ahead and take a look at this wrench, guys. This wrench is designed to use on lines because you won't round it off. If you use an open end wrench, it doesn't grab onto as many sides of the nut, and you can strip out the nut. You do not want to do this, especially on transmission lines. Transmission lines are very sensitive. You need to make sure you protect those lines.
We have a question.
Awesome. What do we got?
Alyssa Peters, 1496, asks if you had a newer truck, would the reservoir tank be in a similar location?
No. The reservoir tanks move from time to time. So depending on the vehicle, the motor, how much room is in the engine bay, I can tell you right now, some trucks, it's going to be on the driver's side. There's going to be a reservoir tank. Other ones, it's going to be on the passenger side. When we had Project Big Red had a reservoir tank that sat in front of the battery. So we had our air cleaner here, or intake air box here. We had our coolant reservoir. Then we had our battery back by the firewall. That one you can see on any 07 to 2013 Silverados or Sierras. This is a Sierra, but this is the same as the Chevy Silverado. Only back then they didn't call it the Silverado because the Silverado was the top end package for the Chevys. Sierra is this truck's kind of subtitle name.
Very good question. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
There's something lower.
Yep, and there's 2 hoses, and I'll show you guys these hoses once I get these lines out. But my goal is not to strip these lines. So I'm trying to be very, very careful with these lines.
I'm having a hard time seeing them.
Yeah, this one, you guys are probably not going to see these. There were some things I wanted to get done before the show started, and the bad thing is this one I kind of wanted to do, but I knew it was going to make a mess, so I chose to hold off. You are going to leak some transmission fluid on this, guys. Just know that you should have some automatic transmission fluid. When you're warming the vehicle up, make sure that you double check your transmission fluid. So I know I'm going to make a bit of a mess. I'm going to grab another pail to put underneath it until I pull the lid.
Is it more of a big one or a little one this time?
This one I'm going to use a little pail. I don't need the big pail. It's going to leak until I get the radiator pulled out, so I do have to kind of move a little quicker. But
Because the radiator pail, that one had to be big.
yep, that one I knew there was going to be a lot of coolant, so we needed that.
Over there. Sorry.
Got to grab some extensions for the lower radiator hose. We are going to make even more of a mess when I pull that hose.
Got an extender.
Yep, we need some extensions for this one to reach that lower radiator hose. Now comes the messy part.
Best or facetious best? Just wondering.
Now,
My favorite part.
There's nothing not messy about doing these radiators. They're all messy.
So maybe some plastic or rubber gloves. Hoses are way down there, huh?
Yep, this one is all the way at the bottom.
There it goes.
Yep, I told you there was going to be more of a mess, and there it is. So with that lower hose off, we can now adjust our fan shroud, and we can lift this radiator all the way out. Our goal is to lift this out without making a big giant mess, but it tends to happen.
No promises.
This one's super.
Now we're leaking down here. Right into the radiator bucket again.
So the reason I'm tipping this, guys, is to drain out as much as I possibly can to lighten this.
So it's kind of like having water in a bucket makes it heavier, so you got to drain it out of the reservoir.
All out of the radiator.
Or the
Because
radi-
yeah,
sorry.
it will hold on to some of the coolant in the radiator.
Is it usually the bigger the truck, the heavier?
Some of it is the engine. So on diesel engines, you're going to have much thicker and bigger radiators because they have to be heavy.
Proper lifting techniques. Let's be safe.
So
Good
here
example.
we can look at our radiator and look at how the components are working. Let's go ahead and talk about these a little bit here.
Oop, sorry.
So right here we have our upper radiator
Wait,
hose.
just a second. Sorry, my bad. Okay.
So here we have our upper radiator hose. This hose is at a slight angle, but there is a massive leak on this port.
Perfect.
It's running down. Here is where those two transmission lines were. These are the ones we got to get back into the new radiator without cross-threading them, otherwise we damage them. Right here is our lower radiator hose. There was nothing wrong with the connection where that lower hose went.
That's the bigger opening?
Yep, the bigger opening is the lower radiator hose. On this side, we have the upper. This upper was leaking. Somebody tried to fix this by soldering it, and the solder failed, so it started leaking down the radiator. Then we have our drain plug down here.
Ooh, that one's small.
Yep, that one is really tiny, and that is our drain plug. I want to see if I got it floating around here that I can show you guys that drain plug. Had it, I just don't know if I tossed it somewhere that I might have gotten rid of it because I knew I was going to get rid of the radiator. Might not have that one here. Okay, so I don't have that, but the drain plug has a petcock to it. So
It's a petcock.
petcock is something that is designed that you can turn it and tighten it to keep it from leaking. But if you turn it the other direction, you can actually open it and let coolant or whatever oil you have pass through it. So this one had a different style on it. It had like a wing nut to it. Trying to see if I got it floating around here. I might not. I might have chucked it already because I didn't want to make a mess. And I'm not going to dig through the garbage just to show you guys that. But that one had like a butterfly effect to it. So you had little levers that you could twist to be able to get it to loosen up. So that's what it'll look like. Not a big deal. We've already made a pretty decent mess. Here's the good point. We're almost at the point of no more messes.
Yeah.
How we have to finish that, though, is we got to get our new Radiator set down in here. But before we do that, remember those little rubber grommets we fixed in the upper mounts? We now have to look at the ones down below. So these lower mounts need to be in good shape. And if they're not, we have new ones to replace these with. So what I'm doing is I'm just double checking.
We need better light in here.
Yeah, we do have really good lighting in our setup here.
What happened to that light that you would put under hoods?
I need to get a different style, one
Okay.
that's bigger. So we'll be
That
looking.
would help with filming.
Yeah, we'll look at that for the future for you guys. So right now I'm removing a bunch of acorns and weird stuff. This truck.
Acorns.
Yeah.
Not the nuts, people.
Yep. Yep. So yeah, this truck had sat around for a while. There was squirrels. There was everything. I mean, this.
Oh, you do mean the nuts.
I do.
Okay.
I'm not joking.
I thought that was a joke. My bad,
No.
people. Don't listen to me. I thought it couldn't possibly be. Okay, he's literally removing nuts from squirrels, acorns from squirrels.
Yep. You guys are here to get automotive knowledge from me, not my producer.
Yes, that's true. Squirrels are a menace, though.
Yes, they are. Okay, so I'm looking at this and I don't like the style, the cushions they have here. This one is actually not the proper one to use. So we're going to go ahead and take that one out. The one on this side does look like the proper one, but I think I'm going to go ahead and just change it out anyway. Especially since we're putting the new radiator in. I kind of want the radiator to be held tight.
Ugh, slimy.
It's nasty. Thank you guys for joining us on this Saturday. We do this every Saturday, last Saturday of the month at 1 p.m. Central.
Yeah, I need better lighting.
Okay, we'll work on that, guys. So those had a little rubber tab on the bottom of them. They press into a hole. That tab is designed that it sits in a certain way. So you can't really mess it up. It's designed to be in a certain spot.
And that was on the pads that you showed us earlier?
Yep, it was the same as the pads. The only difference is these are the ones that went on the bottom. And honestly, they're the same pad, literally the same pad. So when you order the new cushions on this truck, all four of them are the exact same.
We're opening the radiator?
Opening the radiator. It is time to see what the new one looks like. And it's not going to look the same. I'm telling you guys that right now. This will look like a different radiator because it is. This is actually the one that's needed for this truck because it no longer has the diesel engine and it's the one designed to fit in this truck.
Ah.
Yeah, you just toss that stuff. Need that. Pro tip, when you're reaching into this box, do not grab the core.
Ooh, pretty.
Very pretty. So before we set this in there, what we want to do is make sure that everything lines up and that everything is in the right position. How we can do that is set this over the top of our other radiator to look at the positioning.
It looks a little smaller.
So it is a little smaller. It is a little shorter. This is why we got the new cushions, because the cushions will take up that slack. One thing I've noticed is they added these grommets here.
Oh, yeah.
What I'm concerned with is those might be too big to work on our current lines for our transmission. So what I'm going to do is look, I will set this down to the side here, and I will look at these. If I don't think that these adapters are going to work, I can go ahead and take these off right now. I do need to remove this because they have relocated slightly where this stop is here. This one is a little lower, meaning that much of the radiator has been taken off. This is where our stop is, but these are all rubber hoses. It's not going to be a problem to get that off. My concern right now are these.
And that's because they're raised up right now?
Where I'm concerned and why I'm concerned is the hose size here and here look like two different sizes.
Okay.
So this one looks smaller than this,
Okay.
meaning that the transmission lines won't bolt up. I might have to pull these adapters out. So I'm going to go ahead and set this off to the side. And we're going to go ahead and take this piece off and make sure before we get too carried away.
That's how you test the size?
That's how you test the size, is you go ahead and when you see something that doesn't quite look right, you can go ahead and pull it off and compare it to the lines that are inside the vehicle.
Okay. I have another question.
Awesome.
Melissa Peters, 1496, asks, is it a Denso?
Denso is a car part, and what it is, here's how we can check this. So I took this piece off. I can bring this down, and if this threads in right here, then this bottom
Oh, it went in.
is the same threads as the nut on the line.
Cool.
So these adapters do have to be removed for this occasion. Denso is a aftermarket or sometimes factory direct parts company. That's what Denso is. What I'm trying to do is carefully break that line loose without breaking this new plastic reservoir. Normally, guys, I upgrade all of my reservoirs to all aluminum. Only reason I didn't do it on this particular time is this vehicle is being put together to be sold. I did not want to take a chance on getting a radiator that I was going to have issues with. Some all aluminum radiators don't fit as designed. So I went with an actual factory direct radiator and trying to do an aftermarket. It was a lot safer. If I'm doing a custom application, such as a sports car or a high performance truck, something with a built engine, I will do the all aluminum. Get away from those plastic tanks. Plastic tanks leak and tend to fail over time. This radiator lasted 40 years because it's all metal. That one ain't gonna last 40 years. I'll tell you that right now. If you get 20 out of it, that's about what you're gonna get out of the plastic.
You want aluminum because it's metal and then it'll last longer. But if you're just going to sell it, you may want to go a little less expensive.
Correct. Correct.
So was that an answer of no on the Denso?
Yes, that is a no. This is not a Denso factory replacement part. This one came off of Amazon, guys. I don't have my Amazon store set up. You guys can go on there, plug in your vehicle, and pull up what you need. If you guys want to support the channel, you guys can always buy the merch. So
We were going to put that in the
we're talking about that for the future, doing an Amazon wish list type thing where you guys can buy directly from our stores and it'll show products that we use, stuff like that, especially cleaning stuff. later on in the video, if we have enough likes and enough chats going, I'll show you guys the project behind my producer right now.
Yeah, consistent questions, which is nice.
And I can always show you guys some stuff on that thing that's between our producer. But what I'm doing right now is I'm removing the little rubber stop that they put on here. So they did this to kind of protect it, to keep anything from getting in there. But it's got to come off when we put the radiator in.
Better lighting.
That's something we will work on for the future. So here's the rubber stop. Just remove that hose clamp right there. Comes right off. This you can throw away. You do not need this. This is only for shipping purposes.
And that was on the smaller end or the bigger?
This is on the smaller hose up by the radiator cap. That's the one for the heater hose that we were talking about.
Yeah.
All right, so we are ready to finally drop in our new radiator.
Okay, back up now.
Yep. Much lighter, by the way.
Yeah, we need some more lights.
Okay, so just as I thought, everything looks like it's in their same spot, but it is slightly off. This radiator sits much lower down in the frame than what our mounting points are. So what we're going to do is we will be fabbing some brackets in a way to hold this radiator in so that we don't damage it. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to do that one probably off camera, guys, but we will put everything else back in on this radiator. And how I'm going to do that is, I'll show you guys so that you guys can do this at home. These are our stock brackets. If we were to just go ahead and bolt these in, like they're designed right here, they're not going to work. We're too far away. So what we have here is there's some holes right here for bolts. These holes are where the radiator is supposed to be. What we need to do is cut this bracket and bend this bracket up so that we can actually mount this down to those bolts. And how I can verify that right now is take my mounting bolt and put it right here and see if this threads. And you know what? It does. So this threads in right here, meaning we can modify these brackets to work.
So what would you say to someone who might ask or say, well, it looks like you bought the wrong radiator?
So what we did was we bought it based on application. There are two different mounting points on this radiator. And I'm guessing it's because of the fact that whether this truck had a diesel or a gas engine. Because we bought the one for the gas engine, has a smaller radiator. Meaning that we bought the one for the engine, but we didn't buy it for what our brackets are. When it comes down to all of your mounting hardware, sometimes it's better to buy based on what the engine is in the vehicle and what it is to buy based on what you're doing. So let me explain what I just said. I know that got really confusing. So this is a bracket out of a diesel that has a bigger radiator. What we're trying to do is make sure that our radiator is held down tight. We can modify this bracket, bend it to fit, and use the stock mounting location for the gas engine, which has the gas engine radiator now in it. If we would have bought the one for the diesel, what might have happened was it had too much cooling, and if you don't have the right thermostat in it, it won't get warm enough to actually heat the interior during the winter. or it might not have the right cooling capabilities to where you get hot spots within the engine because it'll cool down way too quickly. That's one reason why you need to watch what you're doing on this. If you start playing around and start customizing and doing a bunch of weird stuff, you can wind up with situations like this. So we bought for the right engine. We did not buy based on the frame of the truck. So hopefully that answers the question. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and slice this one on camera for you guys so you guys can see how we're going to modify this bracket. And I'm going to remove the rubber cushion so I don't accidentally cut it. But what I need to do is I need to remove or put a solid cut in the middle of this lump. What that'll allow me to do is then bend this bracket to a 90-degree angle from the bracket.
And that is metal that you're holding.
Right. This is a piece of metal, not plastic. These bends are in here for strength. They're not in here for anything else. They're designed to keep it stronger. We don't need the strength. We need it at the right angle. So when we cut this, we're going to cut deep enough to be able to bend this bracket so that we can get it to hold down.
Yeah, I'm getting shadows. Like we got dark spots. We need better lighting.
Producer's giving me some behind the scenes things that we need to take care of. I'm going to warn you guys right now, it is going to get a little loud when we do this process because we are going to use the air compressor. And what I might do is just cut both brackets since I'm fully set up. So if you're wearing headphones, this is your headphone warning, guys.
Headphone warning. Yeah, turn down your volume or it might hurt your ears.
Yeah. This tool does make quite a bit of noise, and I am going to have to cut this. Wear eyeglasses and wear gloves. Guys, what I'm doing right now, not a good idea. You need gloves. And for this, I use actual hot gloves. The reason I'm doing this is because we're doing hot work.
Just in case it's somebody's first video with you, what type of gloves would they be looking for?
These are thick insulated heat treated or heat resistant gloves. These are considered welding gloves, or welding gloves might have a longer sleeve, but they're the same design. They're really thick leather gloves that are not, they protect your hands from heat. There's an insulated layer on the inside of these gloves.
Thank you. Safety first.
Yep.
Okay, so you just hold it in the air.
Yep. I try to control where the sparks are going to be. And what I'm trying to do is line up where I want my cut before I get started. All right, headphone warning.
We're getting a little black. Smells like fireworks.
Yep.
Sparklers.
Trying to do is to break this little tab out, because I had to do a tab, and I'll show you guys here in just a little bit. Cut's not precise. You will have to kind of mess around with the cut. So the reason I had to take this chunk out is when I bend this bracket, it would have hit, and I would not have been able to get a 90-degree bend on it. So what we have to do is take a wedge out of that bracket. It is a very, very tiny piece, guys.
Yeah.
And that is so that we can bend this bracket at a 90-degree angle. Now, we can choose to fight this, or we can try to do it the easy way. Well, let's start with the easy way first.
Out of the way.
If you guys are doing a project like this to avoid this frustration, you can always order these brackets and choose to just replace the brackets. But I knew we weren't going to go that route because I knew that we wanted to save the money. So yeah, now let's see how our bracket actually fits in here. I'm going to do this without the rubber cushion at first.
I can see it, but it's like black on black. That's why we need more lighting.
what I'm trying to decide here, guys, is if the bend is going to work based on the radiator, or if I needed to bend it in a different direction. So it does kind of line up, but I'm still a little too tight and I'm binding a bit. So I need to trim a little bit more out, but I have to bend this back. So I will have to bend this back, cut more out of that little angle so that I can get this bent straighter.
Let's try against the truck because your shirt is black. So yeah, okay.
So I have to bend this back and I have to take a little bit more out of this elbow here and then rebend this back. The issue is bending back and forth, we might break this. And if I break this tab off, I'm kind of stuck. Just enough to be able to get in with my grinder. All I'm doing. And I'm going to set up at an angle, and then we're going to slice that piece out of there.
Reminder, safety. Yes, those are oil bottles behind him, but they're all very closed. It is safe, I promise.
Yep, and I'm aware of the direction I'm throwing the sparks. They're not towards the oil. They're not towards the radiator. That is a very important safety tip. Thank you. Okay, so now our bracket actually looks like it's in a like it's in a 90-degree angle, like it should be. So let's try it again and see how our bolt holes line up. All right, much better. It does put it at a weird angle, so we will have to watch that when we put the shroud on. But it does give us the right angles here. Now we can try with our cushion. So our cushion is at the wrong angle.
But the cushion's rubber, right?
Yeah, the cushions can be trimmed down to fit in a case like this, since we're kind of custom making our brackets to fit. And for how they had this one bolted in, basically anything that we do is going to fit really well anyway, because they give you so many different mounting points and so many adjustment points that you can kind of make all of that stuff work. The other thing that we could do is we could bend this bracket the other way, but then we're going to have to slice off a bigger chunk of that bracket. It could weaken it, and the more we bend this back and forth, the more we're going to cause this to start splitting. So, but yes, basically we do need to trim a section of this core support off because it is a bit too big. These are the things you have to do, guys, when you get an old truck like this. And the reason I say because of an old truck like this. This truck is over 40 years old. And if you're not the first owner of it, you don't know what has or has not been done to the truck. Meaning that you're going to be the one kind of dealing with these kind of problems because you don't know what prior owners have done with it.
Is it just that it's old or that it's rusty too?
It's just that it's old. This is not a rust issue whatsoever. The rust is not the factor here. It's the fact that this is an old truck that people have had for a long time. And what they've done is
Trying to get better light.
they've tried to get by with what they had laying around. And what that looks like is basically somebody had parts laying around on a truck and they decided to use what they had.
Yeah.
This is not a bad thing. It's just a reality thing. People are going to use what they have available to them and not necessarily what works the best.
Are there times where they don't make the parts anymore?
Yes, that can become a factor as well. So you might have a situation where the parts are no longer available and people will custom make brackets. They will custom make things to make it work. So after looking at this, guys, I have to risk rebending this bracket. So in order to get this to work right, I have to bend the bracket down, not up. This is really risky right now because this could break the bracket, putting me in a position where I will have to go find these brackets. These brackets are not easy to find.
Wow, from 1983.
Yep. Oftentimes we got to search salvage yards to find some of these parts. Yeah, starting to get back to where we were originally. Now we need to get it bent around. All right, I don't want to go too far until I know where I need to be. Definitely got to be more than that. And we are going to have to remove that lump. We almost got to close it up. All right, so next we're going to take care of that little lump that's there. That lump has to come off because it won't sit flush. We need this to sit flush, and I do need to kind of bend this down a little bit more, but let's get this lump off of here first so that it'll sit flush.
Again, ears.
Yep, headphone warning, guys.
Sparks flying. Hmm. I jumped a little bit there. We're getting a nice shot of the back of your shirt here.
Yep. Merch available in the store down below, guys. Check it out after the show. Find that little rubber piece that I had.
Really smells like sparklers in here right now, guys. A lot. I think my voice is a little affected too, but funny. 4th of July in here.
Yep. That's the way it works. So what I did was I put my cushion into my bracket.
It's going to be further down. Your thumb is dark too. Better lighting. All I see is black.
Yeah, it's kind of black and black here, so it's
Yeah.
a little difficult to see, but we want our cushion in there. We're now going to set this back against here and see how these bolts line up.
Yeah, we definitely need a light inside the vehicles. So it looks like the bracket is about an inch lower than it was originally.
Yeah. And unfortunately, now I have to risk rebending it because I can't get it to line up where I need it. So this was a trial and error deal. I am running major risks here, bending this metal back and forth, guys. This is where it breaks. Unfortunately, I have to now bring it back the other way, all the way. Maybe I can do this by hand.
Didn't you just bend it all the way from the other way?
Yeah.
So we went a little too far?
Well, what happened was the bracket actually will only line up if it's bent up. So I was correct in my first assumption. But now I have to work to bend this back.
Because otherwise it'll hit that bump. All right.
The reason I'm trying to do this by hand, guys, is that I can control how this is bending. I don't want to have this snap on.
Take your time.
It's getting really soft.
Again.
All the way back the other way. This is as much as I can bend. I cannot bend it back the other way anymore. So the only thing I can do is bend this bracket back in if need be. Like I can go more in so that I can hit the bolt holes. Yep, that's what I need to do. I need to bend a little bit more. Okay.
Hmm.
Yeah, we're really close. It's just that it's slightly off. So what I'm going to do is I want to put my cushion back in. And I'm going to attempt to get some bolts ran in this at preferably the angle that I need to bend. So what I'm doing here, guys, this is a very old school trick. If you're custom making mounts, unfortunately at this point we are custom making. What I'm doing is I'm going to mount that up and then bend it to where I think I need it to be for it to hold on to that radiator. This is what fabrication looks like, guys. This is real world fabrication. We don't have a parts truck laying around for me to go grab the right bolts or the right brackets. So what we have to do is we have to make do with what we've got. And what that looks like is doing just what you guys are seeing right here. So this still sit.
Man down. Run that man.
This is still loose. I want it loose because I want to be able to slide my radiator in and then push it down. Okay. What I want to do is see where that radiator sits and how far I might need to lean it to get my bracket to fit properly. So with the bolts in it, I can lightly bend it like so, and we can get the right angle on this. I think we might be close there. Let's go ahead and take that bracket back off, try to set it down and get the bolts in it. What we're doing is we're tipping the radiator towards the engine. The reason we're tipping it towards the engine is so that we can get our bracket to fit properly. This is the difference between an old truck and a new truck. New trucks don't have core supports with multiple different positions for radiators. They use the same radiator in everything. On old trucks, they didn't do that. They used bigger radiators on big block engines and diesel engines.
Thank you all for watching today. Thank you for your likes and subscribes.
All right, everybody, we're going to go outside the box on this one because these upper cushions will not fit. So we can't just mount this onto the top of here because what will happen is it'll slowly rub into this plastic. There needs to be a piece of rubber in here. So what I'm going to do is see if I can find a piece of rubber or cloth or something that is not flammable that we can put on there to actually get that to seal up tight to it. The rubber cushion is actually holding it up too high, and I don't want to try to slice that out. This is fab work, guys. This is what they talk about when somebody says, I have to fabricate something or I had to custom make something. That's what we're talking about here. And what I might be able to actually do is we might be able to take the old radiator hose, cut it up to fit in there.
It's rubber, so yeah.
And it's designed to hold the temp.
Nice.
So
Never fully throw something away until you're totally done, right?
never throw away components until you are done project. So what we need to do is slice this hose up to make a bracket out of it. And I'm going to want to use the straight part of this hose. So I'm going to cut a section out of this hose right here. And then I can slice out the piece that I need to hold that radiator.
Hope this is all making sense. Kind of smooth as mud, but, or, yeah. Like he said, it's fabricating, so making things to work.
This is something you guys don't get with most content creators. They will not show you guys what it takes to actually do a project like this. They'll just cut screen it to something that they didn't have to work very hard. Where I'm showing you guys the real nitty gritty of what it takes to do this kind of stuff. This is a real life repair right here. Making do with what you got and making it work. Okay, now I got my chunk of hose. I'm not done yet. Trying not to do is stab my X-Acto knife all the way in. Okay, so now I got my section. Now I want to cut off another section that I'm going to use underneath there to hold the radiator.
You're cutting into the shiny part.
Right now it's wet. All I'm doing is making a strip. What that strip is designed to do is this strip is what's going to go into our radiator support here. So if I need to trim off some, I will. All right, so this is now just going to lay on top of this bracket. That's all this is.
Blacking the light. That's all right. Do what you gotta do. We're gonna invest in lighting.
You heard it from my producer. We're going to be doing some lighting. Bend it just a little bit more. It doesn't want to get a good bite. So I need to get the bracket to line up where the bolts go in and just hold the radiator down. No more yet. Anytime you do fab work, guys, there's a million different ways to skin the cat. Pun not trying to offend, but there's many different ways to do this project. So anytime there's fab work involved, you can modify, you can do this stuff in many different ways. There's no set way to do this. That's what you want to see right there.
Sure.
You don't want this to flop against the fan when the fan kicks in. So you do need this to hold tight. Now, what we can do for an added security, we could put a cut on the top of this bracket and bend it down, which would give it a kind of a C grip, meaning that if it did come loose, it would stop and catch right on this tab. You would want to remove that bolt though, because you do not want that bolt poking into the radiator. Just know that this is the mount for your fan shroud. Ours are broken, so we're not going to worry about it. Actually, we're going to let that one ride right there. We're going to go ahead and tighten that up, guys. Focus. Nice and tight. This radiator is not going anywhere. That's what we'll need to do now on the other side, and then we are going to have to refix this core, this fan shroud, back onto the radiator.
Where does that hook now?
So this is something that we will have to get this on here. What I might wind up doing is going and getting some brackets to bend so that we can hold this tight on the top and keep this from moving. Unfortunately, we're going to have an air gap here if we don't plug this up. So what we might have to do is take a piece of metal and lay a piece of metal in here with our brackets over the top to seal this area off. That is going to be the right way to do this. So now we just have to start attaching hoses, and we have to start getting the rest of this radiator put back together. Some of it is going to involve cutting heater hoses to fit, and the other ones are just going to be putting hoses on. We're repositioning, guys. Give us just a bit here.
Okay, better.
So some of it's going to be just kind of refabbing what we've already done, especially with the bracket. We got to do the same thing on passenger side now. This is the driver's. We will have to reduplicate this bracket on the other side to hold this radiator down. We will have to get coolant in it and get all the hoses on. You can't put any coolant in it until all the hoses are on. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to work on getting these hoses on so we can start filling the system. While I'm letting it burp out, I will work on that other bracket. So what I'm going to start with first is this bottom radiator hose. I want to get this bottom one on because it is the hardest one to do. And it needs to be on before you do the transmission line because the transmission line will get in the way if you put the transmission line on first. Producer's definitely going to have to come around here in order to get into that shot.
All right.
Should be good as long as you're at the fender.
Thank you. We go live with a project last Saturday of every month.
Okay, bottom radiator hose is on and tight. Next, I'm going to spin the fan shroud into place where I need it because I can't leave it where it was. Otherwise, I won't be able to get my transmission lines into place, and I'm going to have problems with those transmission lines going in straight if I don't have it positioned right. So with transmission line, guys, try not to bend them. And if you do have to bend them, be super, super careful how you bend them. Little bits. Make sure the lines go in. Make sure it threads up right before you start running a wrench on it. You start putting a wrench on them right away. You can cross thread them. Once they're cross threaded, you're stuck. There is no way out of it once they've cross threaded. And the last thing you want to do is be putting transmission lines on.
Any questions so far, please message them in. Just want to be sure we're getting all your questions answered for the project.
So I have a sticky line. This makes the job really difficult. Sticky lines mean that you can't slide them back and get them to seat properly before running the nut down inside. This also means that you're going to fight to get that line to seal up properly. What I'm looking for now is a shorter wrench that gives me access. All right, everybody. So what I did is I took a open end wrench to get this line started. This is a technique you guys need to have developed over years of working on cars, because it is super easy to cross thread this line for the transmission, and then for this line to always leak. Remember, some of this, you are going into aluminum fittings. So don't get really carried away and crazy with tightening this down, because you're going to check this once it starts warming up. Okay. So if we got enough cord, I'll show everybody what's going on.
Wait a second. Okay. You need more? Just let me know.
Should be it. So we should see this line here where my finger is.
Gotcha.
There's another one right down here.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one that was bound up and did not want to work right, that I had to slowly start with a wrench. That is a very dangerous technique that will cause you to strip those out. That takes time and practice to learn that technique. But now with that in there, now we need to fab our other.
Camera did its pause thingy.
Okay. Give us a second here, guys. We need to work on our camera.
Doesn't happen often, but when it does.
Yeah. Give us a second. We'll get this straightened out, guys.
Oh, yeah.
Leave it down. All right, guys, hold on. We're having some technical difficulties with our camera. We'll get this figured out real quick.
That's better.
We're back, guys. All right. So
Thank you for your patience.
thank you for your patience. Our producer is on it. So good catch by our producer that our cameras went down. So now we're ready to continue on here, guys. I am at the point that I can get the radiator hose on the top, and I am going to have to start getting hoses cut for our heater core, and we're going to replace the hoses on our heater core. And it is important to get all these hoses replaced so that we don't have any leaks.
The new one?
Yep.
Never mind. It's done already. That's okay. Some days I can follow, and some days I feel like I need a actual camera on my shoulder.
Yeah. Be nice to get a gimbal. That would be really
Ooh, there
nice.
you go.
What I'm doing is just stuffing that hose on there. And then I got to see if I have to trim this hose. Yeah, I'm going to trim some of this hose off. Good. So what you guys just saw is this kind of flopped out of here because the rubber cushion fell out. Yeah, so I will need to bend that bracket down, keep it from flopping out. So we will be modifying yet again. We're not done.
Joys of an old truck.
Yep. And just when you think, hey, I've got it figured out, hey, this project's only going to take me 10 minutes. Yeah, nope, it doesn't.
So if you have a mechanic that is willing to look at a vehicle before you buy it, I suggest you take them up on that offer.
Yep. Because some of this could have been prevented had the vehicle been looked at beforehand. Because what the vehicle was needed to do, this vehicle was not in the shape to do it. You need a truck that will do what you need it to do. Some trucks, like this one, are basically farm trucks. It's going to be on the farm, moving hay bales, moving things around, not going highway speed, not having to haul things in the box. If you were going to try to farmstead or homestead a piece of land, if you're not taking the truck off of the property, an old truck like this might suit you perfectly. If you are taking it off on the highway, there might be times that an older truck like this is going to give you a bunch of problems. So there we go. That hose is in there. That's working. This bracket is not working for us. So I need to modify this bracket again. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this hose off. We're going to attempt another modification of the bracket. I'm going to leave those other hoses on there. They're not in the way.
And you know they go on now, so.
Yep. And those are going to stay on. They're not coming back off. The nice thing is once you've modified a bracket like this, you can easily do it again on the other side. So it's easy to duplicate. And depending on time frame, I may not modify the bracket for you guys today.
You mean the other one?
The other one, yeah. We're going to modify this one so you guys know how to do it, just in case. But
Yeah, it's been a busy work day. We're almost at 2 hours. A little shy, but yeah.
this has been a pretty busy project. Been a lot changes going on, a lot of things we've had to modify. So it happens, guys. This is all part of the process. It really is. Anytime you deal with old trucks, this is why a lot of people don't like buying old trucks, because old trucks mean you have to deal with the old problems. And this is definitely an old problem. It's basically because we decided to buy a truck that is 40 years old with 40 years of people modifying the truck.
Well, your
The
customer.
yes, the customer. So what I'm doing now is deciding where I want to bend this bracket to hold on to the radiator. And it needs to have some strength to it still. So,
Ears again.
yep, here's the headphone warning, guys.
That's the rubber tube again. Uh-oh. Oh, man. We're good. I thought I saw no sound for a second, but we're good.
Whoa.
Can I get a check from you?
All right.
Can I get a mic check?
Mic check.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. So we're putting our little piece of rubber in our bracket. Going to attach our bolts. And I already kind of see a problem. The bolts that I'm going to use for the tab to kind of hold it back is in the way. And that tab has a bolt in it. That bolt will poke into the radiator. So we got to remove it. That means if the other bracket has the tab on it, we're going to have to take the bolt out of there. We don't want this to poke the radiator core and cause a leak. That is the worst thing to do. This is what fabrication looks like, guys. Sometimes it's not pretty. Sometimes it's an ugly process of you having to do a few things to get it where you need it to be. And that's what this is we're basically modifying until we get where we need to be. This is another reason why I started putting radiator hoses on it, guys. I wanted to be a little rougher with this to see if there was a spot we were going to have a problem. I'm glad we did it the way we did it so that we can verify the repair. Because if we have a problem with it now, I would rather address it than have it go down the road and have bigger problems. Anytime you fabricate something, or many times, you only get one chance to make sure that it's right. Because when something goes wrong, it usually breaks something. So you guys are seeing me hand fabricate a bracket live here on stream. This is some of the stuff that they don't show you when they're doing project cars on TV or other channels. They don't show you what they had to do to get it to seal up, to get it to work, to get it to not come back apart.
In the future, with modification projects, we will have better lighting and you'll be able to see it better.
My producer is driving home the fact that we will be changing the lighting in our facility.
Saying we got a lot of modification stuff planned and you'll want to come back for that. So if you hate the lighting right now, I promise it won't stay this way.
Okay, so we got our upper radiator hose on. Our shroud is actually tight. We're going to get our other bracket bent, get this held into place. We will have to try to come up with a filler piece because we don't want the air getting sucked through here and bypassing the radiator. We want it to actually stop airflow from getting between the fan blade, which is out here, and the radiator here. We can't have gaps in here. So this gap will have to be sealed up. It doesn't have to be sealed to the core support. It does have to be sealed from here to the radiator.
Good point.
We cannot have that air gap there. So in the future, we will be fixing that. That probably will not happen. So. I don't like where that clamp is. So this is part of the fabrication process, guys. So when you fab something to fit, sometimes you got to take it back apart a few times. Flip clamps around. So that one's down. Put this one on here. Okay.
Wow, we haven't had a 2-hour project in a long
It's a brutal one, guys. I'm sweating.
time.
The core size had me concerned when I took it out of the box, guys. I unboxed it live for you, and this is what happens sometimes when you unbox live, is you have to deal with some of the issues, but I'm glad we did it. I really am, because you guys got to see how in real time you can fix these kind of problems on stuff you get. If this would have been an aluminum radiator, the fabrication might have actually been worse.
Whoop.
Had we known that this was a diesel prior to ordering the parts, we might have been able to get a bigger radiator, but like I said, you run into other complications. So don't just think that you can slap the bigger radiator in it, because that's what the truck came with, especially when you're dealing with a custom fabrication like this one was. This motor was not the original motor for the truck. This truck had the diesel in it. We ran the VIN code. We know how the truck was ordered from factory. I can tell you right now, that was not how it was ordered. Okay. a little concerned with how high this radiator hose is, so we're gonna do a little test, guys. Part of fabrication, here we go. Okay, we got plenty of room. So what did I just do? What I just did was to check to make sure this radiator hose here was not going to rub on the hood right here where my magnet's sticking or right there where the light is. If it would have rubbed on this piece of metal, what would have happened is it would have rubbed a hole in this hose. Now there is a plastic shield here. And what we can do, guys, is we can cut this hose and I can bend it to fit a little bit better. And I might do that because right now that actually sticks up a little too high. And what'll happen is you'll get air pockets trapped in there. This stuff is designed to work the way it works for a reason. And when we start modifying, we have to understand just because it fits doesn't mean it works. And allow me to explain exactly what I mean with that once I pull this up and we see where we can trim this hose off. I've seen people bend fuel lines in places that it won't work, and then later on, it doesn't give it enough fuel because it kinks a line. I've seen it where heater hoses are routed in a bad spot where they might get too hot and get burnt by exhaust. And I have also seen issues where people don't have proper cooling because they've modified their truck to where it doesn't work like it's supposed to. So if we do this, it's kinking this hose right here. So it's kinking this hose, doing what I'm doing right now. This would be the right flow and direction, but that hose is kinked. How can we solve that? Real simple. We're going to loosen this up. With this loose, we should be able to rotate that hose. We should now be able to rotate this hose without kinking it to where we can cut a section of this off and possibly get rid of that bend in the elbow. What that'll do is get our hose in the right direction to line up. So we can't have this hose going below the thermostat.
Just so much black. I'm telling you, if
Yeah.
we had that light that you used to hang out. Ah, where am I? No, that's not big enough. You remember that like
Yeah,
tall one you used to have?
I used to have one. Let me see if I can make something work for you guys.
Used to could.
Used to coulda, shoulda, woulda.
I just haven't seen it in a while, so I don't know if you. even
Yeah,
have
there's
one.
some of the lights that I had around. I need an underhood light, guys. That's what I need.
Better.
Better. Okay.
Still hard in that corner though that you're working.
Okay. So what we want to do is bend this around so that we can cut off a section of this hose and pull this onto the radiator like so. We need this hose to be above the thermostat housing. You are kicked sideways.
I know, but that's why I have to. I'm telling you, I'm doing it based on what
Okay.
I can see.
All right. Sorry for the shakiness here. I'm going to show my producer how we can do this.
That's a little better. Okay.
So,
My apologies.
okay. You want to hold right there? I'm going to let you take it back.
Thank you for the light. It's better.
No. You're trying to go like this to make it right. Okay. let's go.
You realize I have to watch the frame back here too.
Yeah.
Sit down.
All right, guys, we're working on it here. But trying to make it better for cameraman and producer, apparently, a 2-in-1, be able to do this.
I'm learning slowly. Yeah, it's at least 10-second delay. Should have seen me trying to twerk back so I could see the camera.
Okay. Measure twice, cut once. Sometimes you do smaller cuts before you do a bigger cut. You can always take hose off. You cannot put hose back. So just trying to trim this elbow out now at this point because I need to get this hose down a little bit farther so it works better with the thermostat. Don't like having my hoses that high up in the air. It's too easy for them to get hooked on something. Plus, it can create air pockets within the hose, messing with the cooling. Much better. That's how it needs to be, guys, right there. All right, so now I can take this off. Clamp on. Okay, so we're going to reposition here, guys. We got to get some things straightened out, and then we'll be back at it.
Sweet. Yeah.
Apparently, my producer does not know about live mic. We will work on that. Doesn't matter, they can hear it.
Fine.
All right. Start getting our
What are we
clamps.
doing? Down here? Okay.
Start getting our clamps tight, guys.
All right.
So this hose is now in the right spot. And we're double checking to make sure we don't have kinks in the hose. If we do need to wiggle it a little bit, we can kind of maneuver it to keep anything from kinking. But we want to make sure that this has a nice flow from the thermostat to the radiator without being too much higher than the radiator itself. If the radiator sits up above this hose, that's fine. If this hose is super high above the radiator, what it can do is create an air bubble up here. That air bubble can actually deform the hose or cause an issue where you don't have proper cooling. Yes, the water pump will force water through this hose, but you're trying to keep the restrictions out and make it to where it doesn't have to fight to get that water up back into the radiator. And with a big hoop in there, that's exactly what's going to happen. So now we are on the point of designing our other bracket to pull this back in and putting our last two heater hoses on. So we're going to do the heater hoses first, because then I can start dumping coolant into this thing. Hold on, guys. I got it.
Thank you. Where are you? Down.
Okay, so we're taking these two hoses off right here. We're going to design new hoses. One gets plugged into the top of the engine right here, as you guys see. The other one comes forward to the radiator. That's up front. So for now, let's get these hoses off, and then we're going to cut to design.
Crap. Up higher. It's out of frame.
With old hoses like this, you want to be delicate of the heater core. This is an old school trick right here, guys. What we do is we slice the hose so we can peel the hose away, because our heater core is metal, not plastic. By splitting this, what we can do is, if it's still stuck, we can take a flat screwdriver, stick the flat screwdriver in it to pop that loose. We don't want to just grab, pull, and twist. These are old heater cores, and they can go really bad, really fast. Meaning, if you start prying on these in a way that they don't like, they will leak once you get it back together. So that's how you do it without breaking a heater core, especially an old one. That is an old school trick. Okay. We're going to do the same thing here, guys. I'm not going to take the chance of pulling on this heater core hose. I do not want to break this heater core. So we're going to cut the hose down, and then we'll stick a screwdriver in it, peel it away from the heater core. Old school, guys. This is what the old school mechanics did, because they did not want to break a heater core. Like that. Yep, we are going to make a little bit of a mess, because there is going to be coolant in the hoses. Figured that was going to happen.
Any questions, please type them in. We want to make sure you get them all answered on the topic today.
And we have quite the pile of parts going that are going to be in the trash. So, yes. Big heavy project today. Trying to keep everything organized. I did an oil change and I want to double check it. This truck has not driven very much since I've done the oil change because we knew that the radiator was so bad we did not have a choice, guys. Now, let's hope I got enough heater core hose in my box to run all new lines. And the reason I say hope is because I bought this thinking it should be enough. One way or another, we could probably make it work, but it's better to have it ran through the proper holders. It'll look a lot more professional.
Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for the likes. Really helps the channel.
Well, we're running late into the day here, guys. Normally we try to keep our projects to an hour, hour and a half. Today we're running a little extra because we got to get this project done. This truck is slotted to be heading out.
But don't worry, we'll leave time for questions at the end that do not pertain to the topic today.
So what I'm doing is I'm measuring my hose to be able to put it in my holder where it belongs, keeping it far away from my exhaust. And once I have my measurement, go ahead and cut my hose. This is the high performance and much more expensive heater hose, just so that you guys know. It's not that this truck needs it, so I was able to get a good deal on it. That's why we're running it. I'm gonna slide my clamps in right now, and then I'll explain the routing of those hoses. All right. So how this works out of the heater core, it's going to pull warm coolant from here. It's going to run it into here. It's going to come back out here and get dropped in back on the upper side of the radiator so it can cool down the radiator. That's how these work. So what I'm doing now is I'm just figuring out which way I want my clamp to run so I can tighten it. One clamp's going to come down here. This hose is going to come over here, get routed through. As long as I did everything properly, that should slide right onto engine. It is a snug fit. I could have actually played it a little safer and I could have given myself just a bit more space, but it does work the way it is.
We are here with a fresh topic at the last Saturday of every month at 1 p.m. Central. Next live show will be May 30th, Saturday, May 30th. That is Memorial Weekend.
So rather than me trying to fight the engine, I'm going to route to the next hose so you guys can see me mount that one. And then
They don't have to be different colors.
nope, they don't. The only reason that they're different colors, that told me that somebody already was in here and fixed the hose. So they don't need to be different color hoses. You might notice something, guys. The way I did this, my clamps are in the same position. This is the sign of a good mechanic. When they position things in similar spots, especially when they have stacked lines or something like this, this shows an attention to detail when they're actually doing a repair. So you take your stuff to a shop and you notice everything is messed up or not where it's supposed to be, or they've just kind of squeezed clamps wherever they want it to squeeze them, then that's a sign that they're cutting corners. Okay, so I've routed my hose pretty similar to where I want it. I'm going to go ahead and cut off what I don't need. And it was the same process of me cutting the hose that you guys saw on the motor there. So I'm not going to worry about spinning you guys around just yet. We will be spinning you guys here shortly because I want to show you guys us putting hoses on everything. So we're going to go ahead and turn you. That'll work the best for you guys. All right, so we have one more hose up top here. This one right here has to get plugged into our radiator right here. And I'm going to put the clamp so that I can tighten it. Okay. All right, so the funny thing is we don't have anything holding our upper fan shroud in because it's not attached to the bracket anymore. But between positioning the hoses in place, we have bounded this radiator on the top, the shroud, in to where this shroud cannot move. We are going to put a bracket on here at some point. I'm not going to do that today, but we'll probably do a bracket right up here, squeezing this in so that it can't move. But that will only happen after we've put a shield in here. We want to cover up that gap right there. This gap cannot be in there.
Are you gonna makeshift the cover for the gap, or do you order that?
I will make sure I will customize that myself because that will be either a piece of aluminum that I will just bend to fit, or I will take a piece of heavy plastic and I'll cut it down to fit in there, and I'll bolt it right to this lip right here. So I'll drill a hole and bolt it on each side and just have it come down here. It doesn't have to drop very far, but it has to drop far enough that it can't pull air through this gap. All right, we are getting super close, guys. I've got one more hose clamp tighten up here. And we can start pouring coolant in it. And then all that's left is to design the bracket for the other side and fill in that gap. Then this project will be done.
So today was a little bit longer on the topic. So probably today will just be the topic and helping you guys with your questions for any vehicles you need. But usually we throw in news in there and some other fun things. But that's how it goes sometimes.
Yep. Sometimes the projects tend to be a little bit more in depth on us, so we don't have a choice. But it was important for me to show you guys this process because if you're going to do work like this on older vehicles, you need to know how to route things. This is the biggest problem is people won't put them back where they need to be. This needs to be where it needs to be because there is an exhaust manifold right down there. If this gets too close to the exhaust manifold, it will melt this really quickly. And you will have a massive coolant leak, lose all the coolant that you just spent your money on. You don't want that. So it was really important for me to show you guys how these tie downs work, how this old school stuff works. That's sometimes the projects get to be a little bit bigger than what we want, but I'm glad I'm able to show this to you guys.
You never know what could happen on a live show.
Mm-hmm. It's not always cut and dried like everyone thinks it is, and it's not always as simple. Sometimes these projects are really big and take a lot of time for us to be able to get everything where we need it. Unfortunately, this one was definitely a challenge with the bracket and with us having to clean up this mess that we have here. You know, this is a big project. Most people think that it's a simple deal when you order parts, but when you're dealing with an old truck like this, you just don't know what you have. You could have the basics or you could have something super complicated. This one turned out to be a little bit more complicated than what we cared to have it. All right, so I'm going to move you guys back here a little bit, and we're going to get some coolant dumped in this thing.
Yeah.
So we are getting much, much closer to our goal. This thing is going to take more than the 2 gallons that I got. But either way, it's not going to be staying in here today. I got other things that I need to put in here. We're going to get it close, get as much as we can in it, and then it's going to probably go back outside.
How does one know how much to put in?
Sometimes you can ask your auto parts store and they will be able to tell you how many gallons the system takes. General rule of thumb, you want to buy at least 2 gallons. Sometimes 3 is needed, especially if you have a bigger radiator or if you have like a spot where you're filling the whole engine. We can already hear it gurgling. It's almost full here, but it's going to drain down. And we still got some left in the gallon here. So this might be, we might get close enough to where we might have to top it off after it warms up and the thermostat opens and cycles, but we should be pretty good. But I am definitely not starting the truck until I have the rest of the core support on and I have that gap bridged. So I will have to work on that. In the meantime, I'm just going to let this thing burp down. It will slowly burp out the air that's in it. And if we ran it, it would actually force the air out a little bit easier. Some of the reason I'm letting it do what it's doing now is I want to see if there's any leaks. This is kind of a leak down test as well. You're just letting it kind of filter out, get the bubbles out that it can. But just know that there is air pockets within the engine that are not going to let all the air come out until you run it. So just know that that is a factor. So what we can do is we're going to reposition, guys, and I am ready to start answering any questions on you guys' project. But I am also going to continue working on that bracket. So I am going to work on the bracket while you guys are watching us.
Yeah. Our top chatter today is Alyssa Peters, 1496. So congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Good to have you guys in here today. We really appreciate it.
Only one chatter today, though. So
Yeah.
so only number 1, no number 2 or number 3.
Yeah.
We usually announce the top 3.
Yep. Normally top 3. We give a shout out to any mods that come in. We did not see any mods today. So just doing a little bit of cleanup here, guys, before I go and cut this bracket up again.
Yeah, we're down to like the last 25 minutes or so of the show. So if you have any questions whatsoever, please throw them in to the chat. Want to make sure we get those answered before the show is done.
Yeah, just doing a little bit of cleanup because I know I'm going to be throwing some sparks, guys. So it's important for me to get this stuff kind of cleaned up. All right, so based on information that I had off of cutting the last bracket, I know exactly where I need to make my cuts. And I found that petcock that we were talking about.
Oh, you did?
Awesome. So this is the petcock. These wing tabs are designed to turn. This one, they did not. This is meant to screw into the radiator to hold it down, but this piece here opens it up to let you drain out the coolant. If this isn't broken, it should let you open it and it'll flow coolant out. I actually had to unscrew this completely out of the radiator. Mine was gummed up. All right, so bracket time. My producer will be keeping eyes on the chat for any questions. You guys got them? Chat them in now. I'm going to go ahead and start cutting up this bracket. As you guys see, once you learn where you need to make your cuts, it will go much faster. I will have this bracket done in probably 10 minutes tops, where the last one took me a lot longer to try to figure out what was going on. A flat screwdriver, I can't find it.
Is that the one you dropped?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
No. Had to have been up there somewhere, but I'll just grab it. Find it later. Probably laying underneath other tools that I can't find.
Is that you?
Oh, that's the cutting wheel.
There we go. That's better. Ooh, we got one.
Got a question?
Yep.
Yeah, all right.
Thank you again. Alyssa Peters, 1496, asks, is there a way to check the Freon level of a vehicle's air conditioning system?
Ooh, there is, but it gets complicated. Let me finish making my cuts in the bracket, and then I will get into that question. All right, so
Freon.
to answer the question, is there a way to check how much Freon is in a system? The answer is yes, and it is also a very complicated answer of how I have to answer this. So, what you have to do is have somebody that has the proper air conditioning tools. And by that, I mean they need to have a manifold gauge. What they're going to do is read atmospheric pressures within your system, and then they will be able to determine whether or not your system is even low. And I will show you those manifold gauges in just a little bit. Just a little bit more to clean up, and I will show you those manifold gauge set that they will have to have. All right. Sorry about the noise, guys. This is an active garage. We are constantly working on stuff. Air compressor does make noise. We bang wrenches. So it happens. It's part of the process. So in this short time, guys, I already modified and built the bracket for the other side. And that part of this repair is done.
And then we'll get to the question.
Yeah. Not forgotten about your question. I know that one is very important because there are a lot of people who ask me all the time how I know how if an AC system is full. Let me grab this manifold gauge like I promised you guys. I wanted to make sure the air compressor stopped.
Yeah, that is quite loud.
Yeah. If we ever build a new studio, air compressor will be in a separate building outside. So this is an AC manifold gauge set. This reads high pressure and low pressure. Based on atmospheric pressure or atmospheric temperature, they can determine how much pressure should be in the system. This does make a difference whether it's 90 degrees outside or 60 degrees outside. It can make a difference on how much pressure is in the system. It's a certain pressure that all AC systems need in order to work. If you're too low, what'll happen is it won't kick it in. The pump won't kick in, it won't cool down the car because the pump is not running. The pump needs to run. If the pump is running, but it's still not cooling down, you might have a condition where you're just a little bit under on the amount of Freon. Try to add some, you could overdo it. What needs to happen is if you know the system doesn't have a leak, but you're low, you may have to take it to somebody, have them pull all the Freon out of it, have them drain the system, tell them they can keep the Freon because you're not going to need it. You're going to get new cans and refill it yourself. But here's the trick. You need to be able to pull a vacuum on the system. You need to be able to pull all that air out of the system. Otherwise, it takes up the space of the Freon. This is why your AC systems don't get very cold if you tried to force air or Freon into a system that had air. It doesn't have enough room for it to go in there. So you will need to have a vacuum gauge set or a vacuum. You can usually buy them. They're a little bit expensive, but once you buy it, you have it. But otherwise, if you think it's just low and it's not going to need parts, you can always take it in, have them drain the system, and have them recharge it. That would be the other way to do it. If you think it's to the point where it's not kicking in the pump though, and you know it's low, you can add 1 can of Freon and see what it does. Don't add any more, because if the system is full and you add 1 can, you are now way over full and you could blow a line. The other thing is if you are low and you add that much, the pump might kick back in. And if it kicks back in, you know the system's still sealed. You knew it was just too low to where it wouldn't hold a charge. Remember, don't overfill it. There are stickers on hoods and on cowl pieces to tell you how many pounds and ounces of Freon your vehicle system needs to have. Once you know that scale, you can then buy it. They only usually sell the cans in ounces though, not pounds. So remember, 16 ounces per pound. So if it's a 1.3 pound system, you're going to need 16, and then you're going to need a wee bit more. So usually we see 24-ounce systems, which means you'll need a 16-ounce or you'll need 2 12-ounce cans to get to the 24. Remember, you don't want to go over, but you need to get as close to that measurement as you can. Hopefully that answers your question. If you have any other follow-up to that, please chat it in. See if I can help you with that. Again, like I said, I would add 1 can and see what it does.
We want to thank you again for joining us today. We're in about the last 10 minutes of the show, so any final questions, we need to get those in so we can help you out.
And we did really good, guys. Our radiator is in, it is tight, it is sealed. Everything is like it's supposed to be. So the only thing is I don't want to start this until I've secured the fan shroud, which I will be doing more than likely off camera, because I do need to come up with a bracket to put in. But our radiator is definitely tight. This is not going to have an issue. Our fan shroud needs a bracket put across the top right here. 1 bracket in the center, and the bolt down below will hold this fan shroud in place. And it won't get sucked in because we're holding it with the bolt here. The shroud I'm going to build, I'm going to include it into the bolt area. So I'm going to build a flange on it. So what if I could find a metal brake, which is the best thing to do. I could metal brake this metal piece, aluminum piece, or I can get stuff that's flexible enough with my hand that I can bend this flange with two pieces of wood. I can pinch the metal between the wood and I can just bend that flange onto there. With that, I can drill a hole through the flange and through my shroud. I can put one bolt here and bolt it right here. What that'll do is make these tight. This bracket will be the piece that will hold that fan shroud together. The shroud is just keeping air from getting sucked in from up here. That's it. And really, for the most part, this project is done. Technically, I could start this truck right now. I want to be safe than sorry and make sure that that fan shroud is secured before I fire it up. Now, one thing we need to talk about before we wrap things up with you guys is I need to talk to you guys about the bleeding procedure with these trucks. And this goes with any coolant system, guys. What you need to do is start the vehicle. Make sure you're in a well-ventilated area. This old truck does not have catalytic converters, meaning...
Okay, go ahead.
Meaning that when you fire this up, what's going to happen is that you're going to get raw exhaust fumes. You need to start this in a well-ventilated area. This truck will not be forgiving like most modern vehicles will with catalytic converters. So you do not start this in a closed space. Make sure you open the doors, make sure there's plenty of ventilation so that when you fire this up, you're not putting exhaust fumes in here. You need to warm this engine up, get it up to operating temp. You want this top hose to get warm. As long as this is cold, this means the thermostat has not opened. If the thermostat does not open when you're sitting here idling the truck, do not take it out on the highway. What will happen is the thermostat might be plugged or might be blocked, and what ultimately is going to happen is you're going to overheat your engine. So make sure that this top hose gets heat in it. Once you get heat in the top hose, you know that it's circulating coolant. In order to get everything out, though, you will need to drive the vehicle. Get some miles on it, take it out of town, get about 10 miles on it or so. That way you know that it gets any trapped air out of the system. Once the trapped air is out, you're pretty much done once you make sure you top off your coolant overflow tank. Then you're ready to go. Guys, this has been a big project. A lot bigger than what we had planned initially, but I'm glad I was able to show you guys what to do when things go wrong and just how quickly we're able to bounce back from it. As you guys saw me, it took me way longer to modify the first bracket than what it did for me to do the second. And that's where modifications really do help when you're doing stuff like this, especially when you're dealing with a left to right situation. Because oftentimes what you do on one side, you're going to mirror on the other. And it's easy to duplicate once you know how you did it in the first place. So that's what we've got for our project. Any more chats?
No more questions.
No more questions. All right, guys. We didn't get the views today, so I'm not giving you guys the sneak peek. Sorry, just the way it is. You guys will catch this on replay now, but no sneak peek, but just know something has awoken from its slumber, is all I'm going to say. If you know the channel, you've probably already seen the vehicle, so it's nothing new, but we will have plenty of content on this vehicle because this vehicle is one of the major projects for this channel. There's going to be a lot done to that vehicle, and there's going to be a lot done with that vehicle that includes other people, such as an engine builder, such as who we're going to get performance parts from. And that's all the hints I'm going to give you. You guys can look back through the channel and see which vehicle it is. But guys, I just want to thank you guys. We can't do this without your guys' support. It really does help every time you guys are watching the videos, hitting the like button, chatting, and subscribing. It really does help us get to the next stage. And as we continue to build, we're going to keep bringing you guys more projects. So guys, like I always say, it's just nuts and bolts. I'll see you on the next one.